Hello out there. Well, I don't know what time it is everywhere else, but here in Atlanta, it's 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because we're in Atlanta with a lot of traffic and crazy weather. But we just want to welcome our listeners to the Franchise Business Radio Show, a platform for bringing together franchise professionals and resources to connect, educate, and collaborate to serve the franchise community and franchise consumer. In the studio, we got a great group here. We have our sponsor co-hosts, Mike and Ken from Social Joey. Hey, guys.
Hey, how are you today? Good morning.
Excellent. Good morning. In addition to that, we have another new business owner, Nicole. Welcome.
Hi, Pam. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, congratulations to you. And I know we're going to get into more detail, Nicole, but just real quick for the listeners, what little announcement do you have to make?
Well, we are celebrating. My business name is spa810 in Atlantic Station. And tomorrow is 8/10, so we're celebrating 8/10 Day.
Okay.
And that will entail us having great deals. And the focus I have this year is we're going to be having teacher appreciation with $8.10 massages for 81 teachers.
Ooh.
81 educators, 81 massages for $8.10.
All right. Well, we want to hear more about that. And I definitely want to welcome you to the studio, Spa810 with Nicole. And in addition to that, we have a virtual call-in. And I also, in this virtual world we live in today, right? Christine, welcome to the Franchise Business Radio Show. Welcome as a virtual guest.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. I wish I was there with you guys. Sounds like you're having fun.
I don't know, Christine. It's pretty. You're going to have to pick a different day to come here. The weather is not on our side. I think we need to come to. We need to come to Florida and visit you. You're in Fort Lauderdale. Is that correct?
We're actually based out of Miami, Florida, but my office is in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, wow. Well, talk about a virtual world. There we have it. And Christine, if you don't mind for our listeners, before we dive in and learn a little bit more about your business, would you please just provide your name and the company we're going to be talking about today?
Sure. I'm Christine Dura. I'm Chief Development Officer with OrthoNOW Urgent Care franchise, the first and only of its kind.
Great. I'm excited to learn more about that as well. In addition to that, we have another guest in the studio, Mr. Larry Carnell, who comes to us with really deep and rich franchise experience. And Larry's going to be talking to us about a couple of things. But, Larry, I just want to welcome you to the studio. And if you wouldn't mind, just share with the group your name and what we're going to be talking about today. Just a real quick.
Yeah, this is Larry Cornell. I'm the Vice President for Benetrends Financial. We'll be talking about funding issues, how to live that dream of owning your own business.
Living the dream. Excellent. Christine, let's go ahead. I want to share with our listeners a little bit about your background. Christine Dura has over 25 years of quantifiable executive management and franchise-related leadership experience within the U.S. as well as internationally. I know that you have a lot of experience with notable franchise startups in the service, technology, retail, food, health, and wellness, as well as financial services, medical care, technology, and professional services. Wow, you really... And as a senior franchise executive and entrepreneur, Christine, I know you've been very much of a contributor and obviously have really led some world-class teams across all of those industries. And specifically, you've excelled at partnering with all core business operations to significantly increase the company's footprint. And we say the company's footprint, but really expand market share, generate sustainable revenue, and EBITDA gains. So that's a mouthful right there. But you know what? Can we do this? You mentioned your organization, OrthoNOW, as being innovative and a disruptive business opportunity. Tell us a little bit about that. What's the story behind OrthoNOW?
Well, absolutely. Actually, if you take it back even a little bit further prior to OrthoNOW Urgent Care, and you look at general urgent care, they, if you think about it, they didn't even really exist about 20 years ago. Pretty soon they started opening up, but it was just a handful. People were very skeptical about going to one, but then you saw in the last probably 10 years they started popping up more and more. The last 3 to 5 years we've seen a massive surge in general urgent care. There's a lot of factors that go into that, but the next generation, with the adoption and with the demand of, I want it now, I want it efficient, I want it effective, I want it cost effective as well, and I want that specialized care, people are becoming more and more demanding because of the advent of our technology, the information era. Also, when you look at the disruptors in the United States of call it Uber, even Amazon disrupting the way that we conduct business, healthcare really doesn't have a choice. We've got to move in this direction, and more people are talking about it. Less people are doing something about it. But Dr. Alejandro Padilla actually is a world-renowned hand surgeon in Miami. He was trying to grow his practice, so he actually launched, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, he launched a general urgent care. That didn't work, actually. He shut it down, and within about 6 months, he decided to reopen it. That's when he brought on Justin Irizarry, our co-founder, strategist, and CFO. So you've got the best of two brilliant minds coming together to launch OrthoNOW. It was not launched as a franchise, right? I don't think anybody gets up in the morning and says, I'm going to launch a franchise today, right? They start a business, it works, people start asking about it, they want to open one as well, and so you make the decision to franchise. So we did so in 2014, which is really only a couple of years ago, and we opened 6 last year alone in 2016.
Wow.
I came on last year to take us national. We are now over 40 in development coast to coast. We still have a long way to go in 2017. I anticipate we'll be well over 100 in development coast to coast with OrthoNOW. The plan is to double in size every year for the next 5 years.
Wow. Well, congratulations on that immediate growth. And do you mind me asking, who is your client? I mean, who are you serving at OrthoNOW?
By way of patients?
Yes,
patients
correct.
Or candidates for the franchise?
Patients.
Patients. Well, basically anything orthopedic is sprains, strains, lacerations, breaks, fractures. But when you really think about it, orthopedics covers any sort of muscle or bone in your body. So it's pretty much your entire body and the ability to move effectively no matter what you're doing. So even if your back has been flaring out for the last 5 years, right, that's something you need to go get checked out. Because if you keep waiting or putting it off or doing what most people do, and that's take some ibuprofen and hope it goes away, eventually you're going to need surgery. You can have a much more serious problem. So we advocate for getting those things checked out immediately. So from children all the way up through the aged, we see all generations, and for anything orthopedic in nature for general triage.
And, I automatically think of sports medicine, right? Sports medicine really coming to life. However, to your point, it expands much broader than that, because as I sit here with lower back problems, I would really appreciate it.
Did you sit up straight?
I'm working on it. If you could see me now. Christine, you obviously...
Healthcare. I think it's the problem with our healthcare, particularly with orthopedics nowadays. And that certainly gets brought up in the generation. Like I said, it'll go away. But the younger generations, probably 45 and younger. Now I'm dating myself, but that's okay. But 45 and younger, they're far more focused on their health and well-being than I was ever raised to be. It's shifting, it's changing in the United States today. But they're wanting to stay healthy and well, and this is an opportunity for them to do that. Because really, when you think about what are the choices, they go to the ER. They're not considered an emergency for your lower back pain. You go to a specialist in orthopedic, you're looking at several $1,000s for what? For them to tell you that, well, ice it and it'll go away. For something as simple as a rolled ankle, for example, your family doctor, they can't help you, or general urgent care can't help you, but OrthoNOW can.
And without the long waits you might experience, right? No, Christine, I know you have a very long and successful entrepreneurial background and career, and it's my understanding that you personally have been a 4-time master franchisor. and have deep experience in helping numerous emerging franchise brands. If you don't, like, what traits do you think are most important for someone to succeed in franchising?
25 years have taught me that it's a pretty easy one to answer, actually. And I boil it down to three very simple things. Passion for the business, right? It's got to be something that you want to get up in the morning and you want to do. You look forward to it, right? Otherwise, what's the point? This is any franchise is a significant investment, but it's also time, right? The time that you're investing, you will never get back. Forget about the money, but the time you won't get back. So I'd say be passionate about the business that you're about to open. I would say also work on your business, not in it. The quicker you can get to that stage, the healthier your business will be. I think a lot of times we get sucked into the weeds of the day-to-day. I know I've been guilty of it myself many, many times, right? But that all boils down to the human resources and your people and making those right choices. So the quicker you can learn that and do that and oversee it, the more you can focus on the growth and development, not only of your business, but of your people. And then lastly, and thirdly, the follow the system blindly. You'd be amazed to hear how many people can buy a franchise or invest in a franchise and try and change everything because they're creative, right? By virtue of being an entrepreneur, you probably are creative, right? But why invest in a franchise if you're not going to follow a proven system? That's why I say follow it blindly for at least the first 1 to 2 years. Some would argue 2. And then start to get creative with your business because that is the most critical time of any franchise startup, of any startup company, actually. So those would be my top 3.
Love it. And well said, especially with that last item that you just mentioned, which is the ability to follow the proven system, right? That's what you're licensing and you're paying for when you get together with a franchise. And even though some of the best ideas can come from the field, the reality is you just have to, you got to stay with the basics for that first year or two before you start getting too creative and branching out. I've heard many people with your experience and expertise give that advice, and I just can't reinforce it enough. Take advantage of what you're licensing, the proven methods of operation. Let's kind of take a look at the franchise world from a different perspective. What about the individual that's looking to create an independent career in franchising? What advice would you give to that person?
Do your research. Do a deep dive before making any decision, financial or otherwise, right? I think a lot of people are very driven by emotions, particularly when they start a due diligence process or a discovery process. I find that they're always at the peak of the excitement when they first start talking, about investing in a specific franchise. And then pretty soon, as it gets closer and closer to the decision point, the excitement starts to wane very naturally, right? Because you're starting to get in the weeds, and it starts to almost become real. And suddenly they start pumping the brakes, right? But that's a natural emotional roller coaster that anyone can go through, will go through, and probably should go through, because that really means that they're doing the work to make sure that it's a healthy decision in both ways, too. The franchisor should do the same. But they should also ask the tough questions of the franchisor, right? They may not like the answer, but at least they know, again, they're making a healthy decision, and they get to decide. But I still get back to choose something that you're truly passionate about, something that you wake up in the morning and you're just excited to be able to do. And I guess lastly, always begin with the end in mind. I always try and help franchise candidates really envision what's it like if you got up this morning and you decided that you were going to open an OrthoNOW. What would your day look like? And really think that through, walk that through, experience that with me. Because I know that if I can get them to that point before they make a decision, I know they've made a healthy one. One way or the other. And frankly, it could be yes or it could be no. But trust the process.
Yeah, it has to integrate with someone's lifestyle, right? A lot of that. They've got to be able to visualize themselves in that business. And I always like to say those The three big R's: research, 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 research the industry, research the franchisor, and research with the franchisees, right? Research, research, on the research side, let's talk about OrthoNOW. What are some of the industry trends that are happening in that space?
Well, you look at general urgent care, as I was mentioning earlier, we didn't see them 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say within the last 3 to 5 years, we literally went from 0 to over 10,000 general urgent cares across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And they're literally opening up across the street from each other at this point. It's almost like the Starbucks of healthcare. Very widely adopted. Mm-hmm. But we're about to reach a natural tipping point. Mm. Actually, it's already done because now the big box stores of Walmart, Target, CVS, and Walgreens are all entering into this space.
Yes.
So you're going to see a lot of upheaval, a lot of turmoil. But what is also coming out of that is the need is there, the demand is there, the adoption clearly is there. We're all recognizing that it needs to happen. So the next generation is specialty urgent care, and it's not just orthopedics; it's all modalities: cardiology, pediatric, dermatology. Even ERs are moving off-site in some of the more progressive cities. You're already starting to see some of that. We happen to be a first mover in the space, which is always a great place to be in. It can be a little risky, right? Not everybody has the risk profile of systemic, an emerging brand that doesn't have, call it 20 years of history. But for those thought leaders out there that want to drive change in our healthcare system, this is it. This is the right concept for them. And again, I can't say enough. It's not the right concept for everyone, but certainly worth a look if you're interested in, again, leading and driving change in our healthcare system today. This is our future.
Well, I hear your passion. I definitely hear your passion. I love it. What is one strategy that you think has really helped you grow your business? It's really hard to limit it down to one. Oh.
That is a tough one. I think in any business, you have to learn who your customers are intimately.
Beautiful.
Right? Define your customers, but not just females 23 years old, right? I always recommend to people, define your target customer, the lowest hanging fruit, and go after them. But speak to them, right? You need to know what kind of cars they drive, what magazines they read, where do they live, where do they work, what do they do day in and day out, where do they go for dinner. Know everything you can about them. Develop a full-fledged persona, I call it. And there's actually worksheets out there online that are terrific. It's a tough exercise, though. But until you learn to do that and speak to your customer, they won't come and see you. You've got to speak their language. We did that. I do that with my franchise clients, and that's the first thing I will ask them is who are we targeting as their franchise owners? And until we can answer that, then we're not going anywhere. That's why you've seen the tremendous growth that we've had. We developed the persona of who we want as our franchise partners moving forward. We define them, and now we're talking to them. Now we're seeing them. That's why you're seeing such an amazing surge in our development and our growth this year.
Yeah, invaluable advice. I just want to say, Christine, in closing, what is it specifically about OrthoNOW business model that makes it so appealing to those free thinkers, those disruptors, and those you're just looking for that entrepreneurial change agent? What makes it so appealing, OrthoNOW?
It's been 25 years in franchising. I am a student of franchising. As you mentioned, I've owned franchises. So I really watch for trends. And being an early adopter and myself a thought leader, right, I'm more attracted to driving change as opposed to accepting where something is, call it 20, 30 years in development. So rarely in franchising can I find or put my finger on where it's the right business, the right time, the right industry, and the right leadership team. There's thousands of franchises out there, right? And they all have the elements, but if they don't align at the right time, then frankly, and it's on your radar, and it's available in your community, I mean, frankly, it's pure luck to catch what I call a tiger by the tail. Right? And I was blessed enough to be in the right place at the right time to discover OrthoNOW and really participate in driving the future expansion. And like I said, it's got to be the right leadership team. At the end of the day, I don't care how good a concept is. If you don't have the right leadership team and the right franchise partners, I liken it to you're all winners or you're all losers, right? You can't have both on your team. You either all win together or you all lose together. You have to make every single decision in franchising and in business the same way. So I prefer to surround myself with winners so that we're all winners.
Just excellent advice. So for someone who wanted to get in touch with you to learn about OrthoNOW, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. They can visit our website, of course, orthonowfranchise.com. Again, that's orthonowfranchise.com. That leads directly to my office, and we have a team of support to assist. You can also do some research on the concept if they have an interest. There's a ton of great information out there. We will also, if you request information, send you additional information via email to digest. And then when you're ready, give me a call. 602-692-3872 is my direct line. Again, that's 602-692-3872.
Well, Christine, we really appreciate you dialing in and joining us on the Franchise Business Radio Show. Wealth of knowledge. Very excited about OrthoNOW. And I just want to spell that for our listeners. Ortho is OrthoNOW, care, orthonowcare.com. So really appreciate you being on the show. And if you'd like to hang in, you are welcome to do that virtually.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Excellent. Well, yeah. So let's. That was our virtual guest. Now let's go back to the who's in the studio. Nicole, welcome. So happy to have you in the studio here. And what did you think of that advice?
That was spot on. I could not have said it better. And all the things that she was saying, as far as your team has to support you, picking the right staff, it's key. And as a brand new business owner, I've seen the challenges with each of those because my concept, spa810, is a relatively new franchise concept. So, everyone knows McDonald's. We know that is the bar that we all
Only
strive.
2 pickles per burger. Right, I get it.
If you say standardization, you say McDonald's. But because it is a new concept, we still have some room where we've got not so much standardization for certain things, but the concept itself was wonderful. And I totally believe what she's saying, right place, right time, right stage of you as a business owner in your career. If you were working, if you were in corporate like I was, you have to make that decision. Am I going to take that leap of faith? Is this the time for me? Or now most people don't see kind of the stigmatism of entrepreneurism that I did when I finished college years ago. So there was no entrepreneurial class.
You're going to be speaking to a lot of our listeners right now. So, and one of the questions that I do want to get into is, understand what made you decide to go into franchise business ownership. But before that, you just mentioned your background, and I do want to share that. I know that you are currently the owner of spa810 Atlantic Station, who is a leader within the wellness spa industry, one of the first franchisees in the state of Georgia. And not only do you have your first location that's just opened, but you are planning to expand and open up a couple of more, correct?
That is right.
Wow. 20 years. Little applause there. And Nicole, you really came to this with 20 years of experience in various industries. Obviously, you're an innovative leader yourself. In 2016, you actually became a full-time entrepreneur.
Yes.
So it sounds like you left the corporate America, decided to venture into this entrepreneur world, and now you're opening, obviously, a spa810 in Atlantic Station in Midtown.
That's our first location. That's our flagship location that was opened in February.
Excellent. And let's talk about spa810. Who is spa810? What do you deliver?
Spa810, we like to say we deliver a remarkable spa experience. And that is services that, a lot of times you have services that you can get at different places. We like to put 3 major services in one space. So we obviously do massage, we do facials, and also skincare in general. And then we also have laser hair removal. So those concepts in and of themselves, a lot of people do go different places for those services, but we have it all in-house.
Okay, admittedly so. I'm going to tattle on us here. Before you walked into the studio, we were kind of hoping you would bring one of your masseuses.
Everybody wants a massage.
Well, in studio. All right. Just a suggestion for next time.
Right. Note to self. Note to self.
So then how is Spa810 different from other spas in our area?
Well, I will say, again, around the lines of our services, Atlanta is a pretty saturated market for the spa industry, and we run the gamut, be it, the Mandarin, which is a destination hotel, to other locations that might be a local, very local spa service. So they might provide massage. They might actually just do nails or hair. But Spa810 brings a great product. I would even go as far as we're not looking at it. It's a luxury item. Let's call it what it is. You don't have to have these services, but once you're introduced to them, they obviously help your wellness, health and wellness,
absolutely,
overall well-being. And we want to deliver these great services at a moderate price point, but with the same qualities that you'll find in a destination.
And I actually say once you experience it, you do need to have it.
Right. Once you know what it is, you don't want to go without.
Exactly. It belongs in the need bucket. So what made you decide to go into franchise business for wellness services instead of producing your own?
And that is, I think, what the earlier guest was talking about, where there are different concepts for pretty much everything. And I never considered myself a entrepreneurial thinker, but I knew I wanted to own a spa, and I just didn't know how. So fast forward to 2005, I had been working. I worked at General Electric at the time, and so burnt out. Had gotten to that point where, I literally worked 1 month straight. I started in December 2007, and I did not stop working until January 2008. So those kinds of career options that a lot of us have, you just come to that point where I think I can do something different. And again, wanting to own a spa and just having a corporate background, I wouldn't have known how. So I did find a franchise kind of counselor that introduced this concept to me, and starting to go on the discovery days and learning about other concepts. So I looked at about 4 spa concepts. So again, who knew that there would be that many spa franchises? And that was not even the majority.
Yes.
So learning about that and then choosing which one to go with, eventually just weighing the pros and cons and all the options of our spas, I settled on Spa810.
Research.
Absolutely. Your R's. Triple R.
Well, you had mentioned earlier in the show that you have an upcoming event.
Yes.
Talk to us about your Teacher Appreciation Charity event.
Yeah. So Spa810 is having nationally 810 Day. And we have other services that, for example, the 10th, which is tomorrow, through, for myself, my location, we're going to go till Saturday, just because the demand will be there. $81 massage and facial, 1 hour massage plus 1 hour facial. So you can't beat that. So I invite everybody, if they're listening, to come on in. Then I decided to add another step to it, where my mother was an educator. So this is that time of year. Everybody's back to school, and we wanted to do something extra special for them, because they're the people. There's nothing better than an educator. They take care of our children, and what better way to give back than to help our stressed out teachers? Offer them. We are going to do 81 massages for 81 educators for $8.10.
How does someone get on that list?
Well, we have a special website that they can go and register, spa810day.com.
spa810day.com.
Yes.
All right.
And they can register, and they can also schedule their appointment on that site.
Does a corporate educator
No, we have to. We're dedicating this just to our teachers and, Atlanta schools. We really hope they hear about this because I'd love to really support them, and all the things, the past several years have been a challenge, but this is a great way that I'd love to give back to them.
Yeah, and I like that.
And it's a perfect time of year, too. My wife's a teacher, and that first week, it's like, this is like the perfect time because she comes home and it's like I'm crying every night, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I work late during that week, so
stay away.
Yeah, so I'm gonna shoot that over to her real quick so she can get on the list.
Exactly. I'm all about that. That'll be worth the drive from Tennessee.
That's right.
Yeah. So obviously, you just opened up your location. What I feel like it's almost like when someone gets married, right? Right.
Yeah.
The next question is so when are you going to have babies? Right? You're always what's next? What's next? But I do want to know what are your plans? What's next for your franchise company?
Well, we are expanding throughout the country, and right now there are approximately 20 locations throughout the U.S., but I know we have right now 2 in Georgia.
Okay.
The goal is to have 30 throughout the state, primarily metro Atlanta, but we've got areas, we've got Savannah, we've got all these other different areas that we want to look into developing. And we have an area developer, and she is concentrating on getting more franchise owners in, and we're bringing people into my location just to check it out and see how it looks.
You're a showcase.
Yes, I am.
So if someone wanted to reach out to you, how would they go about doing that?
So you can check our website at it is spa810.com. My location would be spa810.com/Atlantic Station.
Excellent.
Our phone number to the spa in Atlantic Station is 404-400-7215.
Well, Nicole, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you all.
And just because I don't know how quickly our listeners can write, would you give your phone number again, please?
Absolutely. It is 404-400-7215.
Oh, yeah. I saw Mike over here jotting that down.
That's right.
He's already texting it to his wife.
Please let her come. Bring her in.
Yeah, tell all your friends, right?
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate you sharing, and congratulations.
Thank you.
We have another guest in the studio that comes to us with a very deep experience. And Larry, it's great to see you. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Great seeing you as well.
You look great. And what a face for radio? Is that what we always say?
Yeah, I reckon so.
The good news is we've got some video footage going on too. Larry comes to us from Benetrends, and Larry, I just want to give a little bit about your background. I know that you have just deep franchise industry experience, a lot of credentials, have received a lot of awards. I wouldn't even have time to list them all off, but I do want to highlight a few. I do know that you've been recognized as the National Award-winning entrepreneur by the National Association of Entrepreneurship. Fortune Magazine, you're recognized as being with Top 100 Most Admired Company, award-winning management advisor and company trainer. But that's not going to get you a free massage. So,
All right.
you've obviously been with Benetrends and a top revenue producer for them, and we'll talk a little bit more about them and their offerings. But in regards to in the franchise space, you've been recognized as National Franchising Industry Leadership Award. You've had multiple award-winning franchise experts, trainers, lecturers. So just so much knowledge to share. Basically 20 years of combined experience in franchising space, business brokerage experience, funding experience, entrepreneurship experience. I think it's safe to say that LinkedIn recognized you as a top recommended professional for good reason.
If you make enough mistakes, they call you an expert.
Funny you should say that, because I say you learn more from what you do wrong versus what you do right.
Oh, how true.
Well, Larry, let's kind of kick this off with you're currently with Benetrends. talk to us. Who is Benetrends and what services do they offer?
Benetrends Financial has become one of the nation's top one-stop funding resources. We provide all kinds of funding, SBA microloans. We provide access to unsecured leasing, security-backed lines of credit. Most people know us as the company that discovered the legal pathway to allow people to use their retirement funds, tax penalty, debt-free, or tax-deferred. Most people know me as a guy that introduced the very first franchise in the country to retirement asset funding, sometimes referred to as rollovers for business startups or ROBs.
Yeah, ROBs. That always kind of makes us laugh a little bit, that acronym.
I kind of always joke is that we're robbing money from the government to start our own businesses.
That's the best way to do it, right?
Absolutely. It's about time.
Exactly. Well, you know what? I mean, just having heard Nicole's story, and when you think about business ownership versus an employee, what are your thoughts around that?
Well, to be quite direct, there's not the security in being an employee anymore. I've lectured for some of the world's largest outplacement firms, and over the last many years, there's been literally about 9 times more people past their mid-40s than younger. Something's happening in America. There's a freight train coming at American employees that most people don't see coming, and it's healthcare costs. Healthcare is causing a lot of employers to be quite honest, reduce the average age of their employees. That's not good news for guys like myself and probably 90% of the people interested in starting their own business. And if you structure it properly, a business can help you provide better long-term security, but more importantly, help you accumulate, accelerate, and protect wealth 2 to 10 times faster than you'll ever be able to do as an employee. But the key issue is that, many people are addicted to the paycheck, but the fact of the matter is paychecks aren't as secure as they used to be.
Yeah.
But if you find the right business, you've got long-term security for not just yourself, but your family.
Yeah, well said. I frequently say that being in that corporate world really is more of a false sense of security.
Oh, it's absolutely the case nowadays.
Yeah.
And that insecurity is growing at an exponential pace in my mind.
Yeah. And you've been a lecturer for some of the world's largest outplacement firms as well as universities. So you see a lot of those that have been outplaced. And I know you wrote an article titled The Insecurity of Job Security. So why do you think business ownership is becoming more popular for many versus the JOB, as they say?
Well, it's simply that. There's just not the security. There's some other things happening. In particular, people that are older I believe, have a much higher risk of being downsized. If you're downsized, it's often taking you twice as long to find a replacement job. All the time you're burning through your savings. What's really scary is what's happening to peak incomes. According to payscale.com, the peak income for men and women are both dropping. For men, it used to be in the mid to high 50s. Now the peak income for men are in their mid to high 40s. And for women, it's 39 years of age. So once you reach those age points, income often starts to go down. And if you find a replacement job, to be quite direct, you're often having to take a job because you've got to support your family, and you're often taking jobs that are providing incomes 20 to 30% less than what you've made before. And if you get that job, you're typically keeping it for about 2.4 years, according to some studies out there. So then you're getting on the
treadmill.
Yeah, you're just running around in circles, and every time that happens, you're losing more and more of the wealth that you've accumulated over decades of your life.
Yeah, and just hearing you say that, it makes sense, right? But one of the greatest fears of going into business for yourself is having the capital to do it. So talk to us about that. I want to go into business. I want to escape this treadmill. How do I make it happen? How do I finance it?
Well, everybody wants a rich uncle. The problem is that most people don't have rich uncles, but that's a misnomer. You actually do have a rich uncle. His name is Uncle Sam. There's an innovative program that I helped introduce to the franchise community. A gentleman by the name of Lynn Fisher, who's a ERISA attorney that started Benetrends, is actually the gentleman that discovered the legal pathway to do this. It's now become one of the nation's top ways to fund a business. Normally, if you were to take your retirement funds out, let's say you had $50,000 or $100,000, if you were to take that money out, it would push you up, not unusual, into a 33+% tax bracket. Plus, you often have state income tax of 6%. And in many cases, if you're younger than 59 and a half, you're also hit with a 10% early withdrawal penalty. So it's not unusual to lose almost 50% of that money.
Wow.
But through the Rainmaker plan, you're allowed to use that money pre-tax. If for any reason the business doesn't make it, you've really lost probably 50-some-odd%. The government's lost 40 to 50%. Even though you got 100% use of the money, you never have to pay the money back. So it's a great way to fund a business and have the government help share that investment risk. And under this program, it's actually an investment in yourself. Now, there are also a variety of other programs, such as the SBA program. Many people are familiar with programs like Lending Tree, where mortgage brokers compete for your business.
Yes.
We help create a national network of preferred lender program providers. Virtually every preferred lender program provider designated by the SBA is part of our network.
Nice.
And when lenders compete, you benefit. Compared to as much as an 84% denial rate from local banks that accept applications, we'll do a pre-qualification, tell you at the beginning of the process how much you qualify for, and most impressively, we have a 97% success rate of getting that loan approved. We guarantee in writing if we pre-qualify you, we'll get that loan approved, or we'll totally refund that fee. Plus, we have other resources as well, but those tend to be the most popular, SBA and retirement asset funding or the Rainmaker plan.
Yeah. Retirement asset funding, that's what Benetrends refers to as the Rainmaker plan.
Correct.
That's your, and I mean, you brought up a really good point there, which is the ability to work with an expert like yourself on the front end to really understand what is your investment budget for a business, right?
Correct.
Which is excellent. So what are, when you think about the individual has some concerns about the risk of starting a business, I mean, that's just, it's human nature, right? It's impacting their life personally, professionally, financially. Talk to them.
Well, the biggest risk in life is not taking one. To be quite honest, if you want to eliminate risk, you often eliminate opportunity. I kind of joke, if you never want to get divorced, I have a solution for you. Never get married. If you never want to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning because your kids have done something not too bright, then never have children. This is a guy that now has 8 kids, so we've kind of been there and done that.
You're a great risk taker.
Yeah. And to be quite honest, I think the risk of being an employee, especially as you mature, is actually greater than the risk of owning a business if you pick the right business. And the key there is finding people to help you find the right business. And I work with many of the nation's top experts in helping people filter the good from the bad, so we can actually help you find people that will help you find the right business. But one of the big issues in starting a business, and I've helped thousands of people buy, sell, fund, and exit the business, is doing it right on the front end. The fact of the matter is we have to be honest and realize that the Department of Labor's own 20-year study found that 50% of people that started businesses using traditional bank financing primarily were out of business in 5 years. Amazingly, I was directly involved in the initial study or evaluation of using retirement asset funding, and we had as much as 90% of the people that use retirement asset funding still in business 5 years later. And it just makes sense. Anytime you reduce or eliminate debt, and when you use the Rainmaker plan, there are no loan payments, no interest payments. That not only shortens your time to profitability, but what we were shocked by was that people that were using this program also had significantly higher first-year revenue, which kind of surprised us. We said, why is that? Well, because they didn't have any debt. They had more money for marketing and advertising, which accelerated first-year revenue, which got them past the break-even point. You don't make any money until you reach that break-even point. And once you accelerate past that point, that's where all the profit is. So anything that helps you reduce your debt, accelerate your revenue, results in significantly higher success rates. And the franchise community is now caught onto this. Virtually every major franchise concept out there now is now promoting this program as a way, because it not only helps the franchisee, it helps them, because the easiest way to sell more franchises is to have more successful franchisees.
Mm-hmm. Well said. So let's kind of go to the difference. Why franchising versus just opening up your own business or buying an existing one that's out there?
Well, to be quite honest, I'm not a gourmet cook, but if you give me a recipe, I can make a decent batch of cookies. and the whole thing around franchising, and again, I've helped thousands of people buy and sell businesses, both everything from mom and pop businesses to franchise concepts.
Sure.
You're buying a proven recipe. Trial and error is very, very expensive. And people that have not run businesses before don't realize that. It's also becoming more complex with IT issues, social media, a variety of other things. A franchise often has systems and processes in place to not only increase your potential for success, but maximize your revenue production. The other thing is I've been involved in helping a lot of people sell the business. Your previous caller was mentioning you need to go into business with your exit strategy in mind. One of the great things about franchising is when you go to sell the business, in my opinion, it can often be easier to get funding because you have a system in place. Lenders are always concerned what's going to happen when the old owner leaves and the new owner comes into play.
Yes.
Oftentimes there's relationships and income tied to the old owner. That's not as much of the case with a franchise system because they're buying the product and service that they're familiar with, and there's an easier transition. Therefore, it's not the risk to the lender to be concerned that the revenue is going to drop 20%. Be aware that a 20% drop in revenue may be a 30-40% drop in profitability, the ability to pay that loan.
Yes.
So that's another appeal that I like about franchising. And in many cases, franchises can sell for a higher multiple than a mom and pop business. Not always the case,
Sure.
but it's often the case.
That makes sense. It makes really good sense. So as an award-winning entrepreneur, what words of wisdom do you want to leave for our listeners and those that are considering entrepreneurship?
Well, partner with experts. If you think it's expensive hiring an expert, go hire an amateur. That's a great saying by our CEO, Rocco Florentino.
I like that.
And that is so true. And unfortunately, I've learned the hard way. But, research is exactly what you said. Make sure you're partnering with people that know what they're talking about. Go to LinkedIn. Pull up the profile of the individual that you're actually working with. To be quite direct, homeless people will give you financial advice, but that may not be the best place to get it. So, but scroll down to the bottom of the LinkedIn profile and read what people say about working with that individual. Is that person really an expert, somebody that's a source of information for you? And by doing that, you minimize mistakes. And in this business, mistakes are very costly.
Very, very much agree. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
Probably the best way is just Larry@Benetrends.com, or they can call me direct at 770-652-5393. If I can make one other comment about using retirement asset funding, one great appeal to using retirement funds is normally when you structure a business strictly with cash or a bank loan, regardless of whether you're incorporated or not, the business becomes a personal asset. This is becoming one of the most important benefits of using a retirement program. If you buy a $500,000 business and you take $40,000 from the retirement fund, the entire business becomes a protected asset by federal law. So if you have a serious health care issue, auto accident, or some other personal liability issue, they cannot come take away to your business. That becomes extremely important. If something happens to you, it's all protected for the surviving spouse and children. More importantly, let's say you buy a business for $100,000. A few years from now, the business is making $150,000, $170,000 in profit. You now have a business that's worth over $500,000.
Yeah.
The problem for most people is when they go to sell the business because they didn't properly structure it, the business is considered a personal asset, immediately subject to taxation issues. And here in Georgia, we get hit with another 6% state income tax. And then the net proceeds go into an unprotected checking or savings account. When you've done that, you've literally painted a giant red target on your back for future creditors later on in life when healthcare issues start to accelerate. With this program, we can take 100% of that appreciation before a single dime in taxes are taken out, use that money pre-tax to go buy a bigger, better business, or move all that money into the retirement plan. If something happens to either one of you, that wealth is protected for your family.
Oh, wow. That's great information. Thank you for sharing.
My
We're all
pleasure.
sitting here nodding our heads, right? If you could see us, we're all going, great stuff.
Well, I always say it's not how much wealth you accumulate in life, it's how much you keep. And that's especially the case nowadays.
Real quick again, Larry, go ahead and provide us with your contact information along with Benetrends.
Yes, it's Larry at Benetrends.com. My direct phone number is 770-652-5393.
Excellent. Thanks for being on the show. So good to see you.
Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Well, I want to. We're going to kind of on the last part of the show here, and I do just want to talk with Mike and Ken here to get some updates on what's taking place in the franchise world. Ken, do share.
Oh, very, very good segue. Thank you, Pam. We've got some great things coming up in the Atlanta area, a couple of them, and some out in Washington, D.C. So on August 21st from 6 to 8 p.m., the Women's Franchise Network is going to be hosting Tariq Farid, the CEO of Edible Arrangements, is going to be coming into Atlanta. And that is it's going to be at the City Club over in Buckhead.
Yeah.
And we would encourage everyone to come out and attend. And if you have any questions about that, simply send me an email, ken@socialjoey.com, and I can get you added to the mail list.
Excellent.
A couple more. We've got the Franchise Action Network is having their fly-in to Washington, D.C. on September 11th through 13th. And the keynote speakers there are going to be the U.S. Secretary of Labor, Alexander Acosta, and former CEO of CKE Restaurants, that's Hardee's and Carl's Jr., is also going to be speaking there. Franchise Leadership Conference here in Atlanta, October 11th through the 13th,
Yes.
at the Intercontinental Hotel, again, right here in Buckhead, with Shaquille O'Neal and Scott Stratton keynoting that.
That'll be hilarious. Shaq,
Yeah.
I would, it would be worth the registration fee just to see Shaq speak for a while. So.
I'm still trying to figure out if we can get him in the studio.
Yeah,
Will he
yeah.
fit?
I don't know if
That's
he'll
the
fit in
question.
here, right? Yeah.
That is great. Thank you so much. And for all of our listeners out there, we are going to continue to give you updates at the end of the show just so you can stay current with what's taking place as far as events in the franchise industry. Mike, anything you'd like to add before we close down the hour?
Yeah, I think it was just a great show today. I think we heard from a lot of different arenas of the franchise space today. It was really cool. I think, Nicole, I think, is the epitome of what franchising is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many franchise companies are saying, I want that executive that's burnt out and ready to do their thing. And I mean, it's just cool to hear that, and then knowing how to get the financing and hearing it from a disruptive franchise that's breaking in. And I guess it's a good segue to you, somebody, the expert that you can call to help you sort through some of this stuff. Tell us a little bit about Franchise Intellect and yourself.
Oh, thanks. Well, and actually, Larry, we were all just sort of talking about this. Definitely, if you are considering franchise business ownership, the importance of really partnering up with experts in the industry. There's a little bit of everything out there. Some of the value points of working with me is obviously I will not only be able to introduce you to different businesses for consideration, but I'll also be able to guide you through that process, that discovery process, make sure we're getting you connected with needed experts like Larry when it comes to funding, needed experts for legal reasons, right? Getting the right franchise attorneys. So not only are we able to get you introduced to several businesses for consideration, but we really orchestrate different resources for you. We help you navigate that discovery process so you can hopefully be very effective in doing your research before making that commitment to a franchise business. And I really appreciate you asking that. We were, I guess, giving me my own little plug and commercial. Thank
Well, you certainly deserve it. So.
Thank you. And in closing, I also want to just say thank you very much to Social Joey for being a co-sponsor of the Franchise Business Radio Show. As I mentioned earlier, this is a platform for bringing together franchise professionals and resources to connect, educate, and collaborate to serve the franchise community and consumer. And with that being said, please, Mike, give out your information for Social Joey.
For sure. Yeah. If you want to email us, info@socialjoey.com, or if you want to talk to me specifically, Mike at Social Joey. Ken, I know, just said his, Ken at Social Joey. And then if you want to give me a call, 423-584-1544, and we'd be glad to have you. So.
Excellent. Thanks for listening in. Everyone have a great week and stay dry if you're in Atlanta.
Thank you again for joining Pam Curry and her guests on the Franchise Business Radio Show, sponsored by Franchise Intellect, a full-service franchise consulting and development firm. More info at franchiseintellect.com. Also made possible in part by Social Joey, the social media experts that provide a hyper-local presence for your franchise. More info at socialjoey.com. Use the social media links here to share today's show and check out more episodes at franchisebusinessradio.com.